Hey fellas, welcome to this video about Alpine F1 and the car that they launched this week for the 2023 Formula One season. I'm going to share my screen so we can go through a couple articles. There's some interesting things that's also been said after the launch, which we can discuss as well. But let's proceed. All right, so the first article is the actual car which was launched. So we know what this car launches. It's not really the car, okay? Which for a few years I've not really been excited by the car launches themselves. For me, it's more of a marketing exercise to give exposure to your sponsors and so forth. The thing that I do look out for is when the sort of technical people like Mr. Harmon in Alpine's case comes out and then speaks briefly about the changes of the car. So one of the things he mentioned with Alpine specifically is changes to the suspension, and they also touched a bit about the engine. So that's the kind of things which I look out for. How the car looks, the paintwork and whatever. I couldn't care less, to be honest, because come Bahrain, come the actual race, so much of things change. I mean, if you remember a few years ago, Renault launched a car which was like full black, and then it came onto the track and it was yellow. And again, it is for the marketing personnel. So, we don't really pay attention to this as much as the media wants you to do. So, the media obviously wants you to pay attention, and that because they can sort of, get clicks and income from it. But we should know better by now, right? So, anyway, here's the car on screen. They launched two cars, same like they did last year because of PWT. So, the first three races they'll use the pink car, and then they'll switch to blue for the rest of the season thereafter. Okay. So here's the pink one over here in this picture. You can see some people hate it, some people like it. I'm okay with it. Honestly, couldn't care less. For me, I like the yellow and black, but we are Alpine now, so we stick to the blue, which is fine. I actually, it grew on me as the years went, as races went, so I'm okay with it, right? There's more of the car on here, so I'm sure you guys have seen the car already, but if you haven't, this is how it looks. It's quite nice. Okay, it's a neat car. Not much change from last year visually, but we can go into sort of details, and then you can look at the actual air intakes on the side. That's changed a lot. But honestly, the most important things you should take out of this is what Matt Harmon had discussed in the technical breakdown of the car for this year, right? Engine wise, also, we know they've changed the oil pump and water pump, so that should lead to better reliability. More reliability means that they can run the engine at a better power range for a longer period of time, which inevitably gives you better performance, right? So we should see better performance this year. Honestly, if we have the failures that we had last year with this water pump and engine issues in general, then these guys need to hang their heads in shame. Sorry to say it, but it's unacceptable now because it's happening for years, and we know they redone the engine completely last year. But you sort of have a long time to look at addressing these issues, and given that the engine development can't proceed like it did in the past, where you can just develop. We know there's budget caps. We know there's a freeze on engine performance, which you take with a grain of salt, right? Because again, if you improve reliability, you inevitably are improving the performance. So, and people do change parts. They can say there's something wrong with this part. We need to change it for problems we've had with it, and then you do get performance gains. So, if you take that with a grain of salt, but in Renault's case, they have to learn from the mistakes of past and fix things, right? So we'll see when the season starts, but we know they've changed the water pump and oil one as well. So let's see how that goes, right? Um, yeah, the other thing in the presentation of the car was obviously the new driver lineup, Gasly and Ocon. Um, Look, in any team where there's close competitiveness, right, where the drivers match up to each other, there's gonna be tension. Okay, so no matter what you say, when drivers are close together on the grid, there's gonna be friction. So I'm not reading too much into the issues that Ocon and Gasly have had in the past. Let's just see when the season starts how it goes. But it's good to see two French drivers in a French team. Unfortunately, there's no French GP, which is a real shame. I mean, I would like to see F1 sort of, give that incentive to teams that are putting the effort into being in the sport. Okay, so it's unfortunate, but they obviously look at the financial side of things where France wasn't giving them what they want. And I mean, we can have like what 4 American races soon, so the money talks, unfortunately. So let's move on, right, to the next article. This is interesting. This came out quite recently, and it's been said that if Andretti do indeed come into the sport, we know that they tried to put it. Some teams weren't happy, some are more forgiving, but if they do come into the sport, then the interesting thing is Alpine may, and I'm using the word may. I know the article says will, but I'm using the word may supply them with engines. I say may because there's the Honda uh, loneliness, or they've been shafted out for Ford. Surprised me more than anything so far this season, but we know Andretti and Honda do have a partnership in America in Indy, so I wonder why they've mentioned Alpine here. But if they do get Alpine, it's a good thing, right, for Alpine, because now you have a customer, you get more data, and I mean, there's no loss in that. So that's something interesting which I thought I'd share. You can have a look at this article as well. Okay, if we go on to the next one, this is for the reserve driver, and it's been given to the Australian youngster Jack Tuan. So I don't think that's much of a surprise, but that is interesting as well. Okay, so that's pretty much the articles that I wanted to share, and just about the car in general. The tests are starting in, I think, the coming week or the week after. Again, it's more about, look at the lap count more than anything else, and look at the time the car is spending in the pit lane, and that's what you should take away from the tests. Don't look at the timesheets and things like that. It's more about putting the car through its pace, and seeing more about the reliability and testing of parts. So, teams don't give away much there, but let's see how it goes. And then onto the season. And when we get to the first race of the season, that's when we'll judge who's up to what. All right, guys. So, all in all, that's the car, and as well as some other news that's come out since. And let's see what happens, guys. That's all from me. Cheers.